So today we're going to do an H&R Block tutorial. So I'm going to take you step by step on signing up for your account here in real time on desktop. You can also do this on mobile if you want to, but obviously with as important as taxes might be for most people, desktop might be the easiest way to go. So let's go ahead and jump right over here. I will actually have a link to H&R Block in the show notes down below. If you want to use them, it does help support out the channel. You get more free content like this as well too, so it is much appreciated. Now, let's go ahead and kind of break this down. I don't want to go too in detail with the different tiers right over here because we are going to do the free online one as an example here today. Most of the other ones are going to be very similar in the questions it's going to ask you leading up to creating your account. But you, of course, can read through and see all the different options and what they offer for you. So we're going to go ahead and just do the free online. So we're going to click on File Free right over here, and we're going to see the questions it's going to ask us as we go through the sign up process. So if this is your first time ever having a tax year where you have to do it yourself, or you just wanted to use H&R Block versus anybody else, we're going to go ahead and create our account right over here. So first it asks you to sign in, but we're going to click on here where it says don't have an account, create one. Now, right over here, it's going to ask you to go ahead and plug in an email address and a phone number as well as a username. So we're going to plug in this information and we're going to click on next and we're going to see the questions it's going to continue to ask us. Now, next up here, it is going to ask for a password. So go ahead and create your password. You can remember this device so it signs you in automatically, and then you can agree to the terms and conditions. You can click on the highlighted stuff if you'd like to be able to read all about that. So on this page here, it is going to verify our phone number. So we're going to go ahead and plug in the numbers that it sent us as a code, and then we're going to have that verified as you see it right over here. And we're going to move on to the next page as it loads up. So it says, congrats, your account is all set up. So it is that quick and easy to set up your account. Now, of course, there's going to be more questions as it comes to actually filing your taxes and plugging in all that information, but getting your actual account up and running only takes just a couple of minutes. So we're going to go ahead and click on Start Taxes right over here. And it's going to take you through the steps of all the information you're going to need to fill in to be able to get your taxes done properly so you don't miss a thing. Now, right over here, it says help us personalize your H&R Block experience. If you agree to share your tax filing details after you file, we can provide you many benefits. So if you want to go ahead and do that, we're going to click on next right over here. And it's going to ask you to verify all this stuff right over here. So we're going to hit consent, and then it's going to ask us to scroll through there. So here it's going to ask for your taxpayer's first name and last name, today's date, and then that you are filing this return with your spouse. Or if you're not, you don't have to click on that. You can hit next. If you don't want to do this, there's a little spot that says no thanks, which if you want to, we can go ahead and click on that. So the first step right over here, it's going to ask you, how did you file last year? You can say if you used H&R Block, used another tax company, or you've never filed before. So if it's your first year doing that, whichever option is best fitted for you, go ahead and click on that. It might ask you personal questions from there. Otherwise, it's going to take us to the next page. So the first thing it's going to ask you to do is actually upload your 2020 taxes, because this might actually save you quite a bit of time by just having this information uploaded. So if you have your 2020 tax return, you can go ahead and click right over here to have it uploaded right away. If you don't have that, you can skip the import down here. And if you do, there's going to be a next button. My face is kind of covering it. But if you can, go ahead and do that, and it'll save you a little bit of extra time. So next up here, it is going to ask for your information. So your first and last name. It's going to ask for your date of birth, your marital status, and tax year preparer, as well as some checked boxes right over here if you need to. And then again, my face is covering it, but there is a next button once all this information is filled out. So next up right over here, it is going to ask for your social security number. This is obviously because it's going to go with the IRS. So make sure you plug in the proper information here as well. So that way we can go ahead and move on to the next page. So next question here, it's going to ask, how do you want to file with your spouse? You can do file jointly or filing separately, whichever option is best for you. Go ahead and click on that, and we'll go to the next page. So here it is going to ask about your spouse. So you're going to plug in their information and then click on next. So here it is going to ask for your spouse's social security number. So very similar to yours, just make sure you're plugging in the information. So on this next page here, it says, what's your contact information? And right over here, it actually does say that the IRS does require a phone number. So make sure you put in your information with your phone number and your address as well. The phone number should be pre-populated if that's how you signed up. And then we're going to click on the next button at the bottom. So here it asks if you and your spouse are U.S. citizens in 2021. Click on whichever one qualifies for you. Next, it's going to ask if you or your spouse or a student in 2021. Again, click on whichever option works best for you. So next up here, it's going to say, can someone claim you or your spouse as a dependent? And then yes or no, whichever option works best for you. On this one, it's going to ask if you have any dependents. If you aren't very familiar with some of these questions too, by the way, they do have a little like highlighted section here to see who qualifies for this. So to better answer those questions if you're not fully understanding what they're asking. But for this example, we're going to be going with no. And it says, do you have a child who lived with you in 2020 who's not your dependent? Again, you can click on who qualifies and then go ahead and answer that question. So here it's going to say your filing status is married, filing jointly. If that looks correct, we're going to click on next. So on this next page right over here, it is just verifying all of our information. Of course, I had to block all of that off. If everything looks correct, we're going to go ahead and click on next. If not, you can go ahead and edit by hitting that little pencil button. So from right over here, this is going to say, let's go ahead and switch gears and start looking at your income. This is essentially the biggest part when it comes to filing taxes. So you can click on let's go. Now, next up here, it is going to go ahead and say, do you want to start with your W-2s if you have one or multiple? This a lot of times comes from different companies, usually around January to about mid-February. So if you have that, you can click on get started now, or you can skip as well if you needed to. And it's going to ask you if you have like 1099s or any other different types of things that when it comes to earning income. So from this page here, you can see your incomes. You can go ahead and get started again. If you just kind of jump back to the main page here in the summary, you can even do income profile. You can add income if you have different filing paperworks coming in, and you can click on the next button. Again, always being hidden by my face there, but then it'll take you afterwards to deductions, then credits, and then overall your taxes, and then your wrap up. The nice thing is they also go through and file with your state as well. So all the information is going to essentially transfer over from federal to state to make sure everything looks good. And then you're going to go through the filing process as well. Now, until you have all the paperwork, you definitely don't want to finish up and go through and file. So make sure that you have all the right paperwork from your employer, from any kind of account that you have earned money from, whether it's retirement or just regular investments, all that put in together. Now, if you wanted to get some of the paperwork in early because you have that, you can go ahead and get started and then save it for later and then sign back in and then continue as you get more of that paperwork. Now, if you maybe want to check out TurboTax instead of H&R Block and see their sign up process and what that one's all about, go ahead and check out my video right over here to learn all about that one. My name is Dennis, and I'll see you in that next video.